Hello everybody, how's it going today? Glowplasma 231 here, back in detail about Navigatoria, chapter number 29. This chapter is titled Observation. And honestly, what a somber but sort of happy note this chapter really gives me for the Navigatoria story, because on one end, it is an incredibly somber chapter. I mean, of course, as we learned in last chapter, the Earth has been destroyed. And this chapter is really all about all of our main characters here on the planet of the Mental, and just everybody in general in this series, really reflecting on the fact that, yeah, their home planet is gone. Everybody that they know are gone. And for some people, this turns into immense sadness and depression, while for others, it turns into something more, something greater, and honestly, a chance for life again. And that is really the message of this chapter, and really, I think that this series is trying to get across here at the end of the day, with what seems like this massively random twist, but honestly, it makes a lot of sense for everything that Navigatoria has built up in its run so far. Of course, if you guys don't know, by the point I'm recording this video, Navigatoria has already ended. After this video, there will be 2 more videos on Navigatoria. One on the extra chapter 7, if I'm not mistaken. I've just seen the thumbnail image, and it looks like it's about Lycra and Kirin. And then, of course, we have chapter number 30, which is the final chapter of Navigatoria. So after this one, it definitely seems like, yes, the series is over for sure. And this is the penultimate, like, truly penultimate chapter of the series. But yeah, really not too much to say before we just hop on into this chapter of Navigatoria. Just as I mentioned a minute ago, what happened last time on Navigatoria is we had this whole chapter where, hey, Hina came back, Manabu interacted with Hina. There was this whole thing of like, hey, he was getting ready to be executed by Hakutaku, but at the last second, I think the guy's name was Colonel Mitsuki, if I'm not mistaken. He came in, I presumed he was Hina's fiance, not really so sure. But we see that he sort of comes through and like says, hey, Hina, or says, hey, Manabu, we're saving you from all of this, and Hina comes in, gives him a massive hug, and Manabu and Hina really have this really big conversation with each other about, like, hey, why didn't you not think I'd be sad whenever you would have been gone, pretty much, right? And then the end of last chapter was pretty much Hina hinting at, like, hey, there's going to be some big announcement at school for you tomorrow, so make sure to go to class, right? And the very last page of the chapter was Grey Goodman pretty much saying, like, hey, guys, the Earth was destroyed 6 months ago. And that is where we start off this chapter of Navigatoria, as we pretty much see that Grey Goodman saying, yeah, the Earth was destroyed 6 months ago. And Manabu and a lot of the other students are like, wait, like, what are you talking about? Like, you can't be right. As we see one of the girls in Class D just raise her hand, just is like, so are you saying, like, the reason we didn't receive any letters back from our families on Earth is? And Grey Goodman is like, yes, you are correct. It's because all of mankind on Earth has been wiped out. And a lot of people have these wide-eyed stares of, like, horror, as we really just get a good look at Manabu, Madeline, and Arigotan, all just, like, looking extremely shocked over this massive reveal. As we pretty much see the Grey Goodman saying, like, yes, we have bases on other planets, and the Earth Army will be able to recover. Everyone is prepared to die to avenge their families and homeland, and to fight back against the enemy planet's armies. And we pretty much just see some narration coming from, like, Manabu's perspective, and, like, I really think the perspective of everybody saying, like, hey, nobody stands up to say you're lying. We all know that our teacher wouldn't tell such a lie. As Grey Goodman just says, like, hey, you must be wondering why we are telling you this now. In the Earth Army, there were many who were of the opinion that we should not let students know before graduation. But it's today. The night you can observe the Earth that was destroyed 6 months ago. Please spend the rest of your day at your own leisure. And as this happens, everybody is just completely freaked out. As we just see that Manabu walks out of the classroom, and he just thinks about his father back home. And he just thinks, like, yeah, he wasn't necessarily the best guy out there at all, but also, like, my father is now dead. Like, he's going through all of these very conflicting emotions. As you see as he walks out of the classroom, Hina is there, and Hina walks up and gives him a massive hug. And he's like, Hina, like, well, what do we do with the Earth is? And Hina's like, hey, Manabu, who really cares? Mujikno is gone. Me and you are free. And Manabu is just thinking, like, oh, yeah, that's true. And he just thinks, like, I guess that is great news for me. So on the one hand, it's like, yeah, the Earth is destroyed, but for some people, it is a bit of a I forget the metaphor I was planning to use there, but I was going to say something, right? It's a light that's shining through the darkness, pretty much, right? We didn't see what Aiden's up to here in a moment, and of course, he is thinking about all of his friends and family and all of his, like, younger siblings on the planet, or on the, in the country of Anon, right? And they're pretty much all saying, like, hey, big brother Aiden, and Aiden is just thinking about all of this, and we see that he's just throwing up into a toilet, as he is not taking this news very well whatsoever. Of course, he's not coughing up blood now, but he's not coughing up anything necessarily better to be coughing up, all things considered, right? As we see that, like, he's just having a very shocking reaction to all of this, right? We didn't see that Madeleine is going up and talking to her farm advisor, just saying, like, hey, Gadu, what about father? What about mother, right? And we just see that he's shaking his head back and forth. And we see Rikotan goes up to Grey Goodman and just says, like, hey, does anybody know what happened to the Ree family? And Grey just says, like, hey, there were just simply no survivors, right? And Rikotan's like, oh, I see, so that's how it is. And we should see that he, like, bows his head in this moment. We then look into Class A, where we see that Navi is going around and like, hey, Charlie, are you okay in this moment? And Charlie's just being a massive cry right now, just like, hey, I'm sorry, I just really want to be alone. As Navi's just standing in here and she just thinks like, hey, everybody looks so antagonized, and I'm the only one it doesn't concern. Because apparently, yeah, Navi is a Dementian. She has grown up. This is her home planet. So, of course, she had no friends or family on Earth, so she feels really no regret for everything that has happened there, which is, like, a really interesting way to spin the tale of, like, Navi's story, right? We didn't see two of the other students. I sadly do not know their names, but it is the student from the Musical Nation and the student from the Artistical Nation, right? As, of course, the two of them were, like, really becoming good friends with each other and almost looks like they were going to be, like, romantically involved or, like, good friends or however that really may shake out to be. But their two countries all back on Earth were pretty much warring with each other, which kept the two of them apart. And we get 2 pages here just seeing the two of them run towards each other and just give each other a really big hug. And it's honestly a really nice thing to see, like, hey, these two characters that really weren't focused on too much get, like, these whole 2 pages just to be like, hey, they are finding a little bit of good out of this entire nation of, like, hey, the Earth has been destroyed. Like, they're finding a light at the end of the tunnel once more, right? We see that both Joanne and Christina see all of this happening, and we see that Christina's like, hey, aren't you very much shocked, Joanne? And she just says, like, I mean, I'm super sad, but that's not really going to change anything. And she's like, hey, what about you, Christina? Like, you honestly seem very fine. And Christina just says, like, I mean, I honestly feel very refreshed, though it is a shame I won't get to see the frustrated look on my own father's face. The man who cheated on my mother and made her commit suicide is actually dead at this point, right? As Joanne just gives her a pat on the back and sort of just, Christina just is like, hey, I'm not really sad or anything, you know? And she's like, yeah, sort of being like, yeah, we can tell you're sad and you're just trying to, like, hype yourself up over it, but just, it's okay to be sad in the moment, right? We then see one of the Class D girls runs up to all of the members of Class D, and she has this massive telescope in her hands, and she just says, like, hey guys, all the students who want to take a look, gather on the roof tonight. I'll lend you my telescope, right? And of course, we've seen her plenty times before. I sort of, like, call her, like, Shark Girl, because she's got, like, this row of, like, jagged teeth right above there, right? As you see that this news really spreads to everyone, it's like everybody's like, yeah, we want to come see it and all of that various stuff. We see that Hina leaves Monabu and sort of like goes on her own way, and Monabu meets up with Madeleine. The two of them come and grab Aiden out of the toilets. They also find Rikotan. We see a little image of, in Class A, Anastasia just completely crying over all of this stuff as Navi just sort of sitting there like indisposed to everything, right? And then we just see everybody making it up to the roof. This is nighttime out, right? As we just hear some words said like, hey, it's time. And we see just everybody looking up into the sky and just seeing the Earth there. And the next minute, they see the Earth is destroyed. It looks like just something hit the middle of it and it just pretty much exploded out pretty much. I don't know if it's still a planet anymore, if it like exploded into a billion pieces, but that is really what it looks like there. As Monabu is just sitting here thinking, to the naked eye, the sky looked much too normal. As Monabu just starts to cry as he thinks, like, why am I crying? As the narration continues, that night, we all just silently looked up in the same direction. And that is where we end this chapter of Navigatoria. And like I said, this really sad and somber note, but also a very hopeful note for a few of these students here at the Navigatoria school, right? Now, a little bit of an interesting thing I want to bring up about this chapter is I am currently a student in some astronomy classes in college currently, and I'm actually minoring in astronomy also. So I was sort of sitting here thinking about all of this, and I'm like, hey, wait a second. If today is the 6-month anniversary, pretty much, of when the Earth got wiped out, and they're going to be able to see what happened to it, that means that the Earth is only about half a light year away from the Minthal, right? So I was looking through and doing a lot of research into this stuff, and if you guys don't know what AU are astronomical units, right? And this is pretty much the distance between the Earth to the sun, right? And a light year is somewhere in the ballpark of, I think it's 63,000 AU, which isn't that far on a very galactic scale. I mean, our galaxy of the Milky Way galaxy is really is about 100,000 light years across, which is a very, very big deal compared to when the mental planet seems to only be about half a light year from the Earth, right? So a little bit interesting thing sort of going into all of this a bit more is that, so if we divide the number in half of 63,000, we get what? 31,500, and that sort of places the planet of the Minthal in a region of our solar system called the Oort cloud. So it seems like the Minthal planet may actually be in the solar system. I really don't think this was necessarily like thought out too well by the manga Wako Ishishi. I really think like he was thinking more of a galactic scale, and like simply just like half a light year was a bit too close to really have like this great big galactic scale, but also sort of makes sense of like, hey, there are wormholes, we may have discovered a planet out there. So just a little bit of an interesting note to sort of just sit here and think about it. I saw a few people in the Manga Plus comments thinking like, hey, information can't travel faster than the speed of light, so how do they already know the Earth is destroyed? And pretty simply, we know they have wormholes, so they're able to just like pop out from one area into another with like probably minimal time shift differences. So a little bit of just some interesting things there thinking about it, but yeah, either way, good chapter of Navigatoria. I enjoyed the real story I was just being told here of like the very somber moments of like, hey, everything has been destroyed. Everything we know and loved and cared about back home is really just gone, but even still, we can just persevere through all of this, and it's really gonna be okay at the end of the day. I really feel like that's what this series is building up to in its final chapter. Really, 2 final chapters, but I think you guys sort of get what I'm going for. But either way, a really nice and emotional chapter of Navigatoria. So hey, if you guys enjoyed this video, I've covered Navigatoria a few other times here on the channel. It's been like, I don't know, 10 or 11 times at this point. So if you want to hear my thoughts on the Navigatoria chapter going all the way back to, what was it, chapter number 20 and beyond, all those videos are uploaded on the channel. You can check out all of those in the respective spots. I have a playlist linked down in the description down below and a end card on this video. So yeah, follow that out of the way. Thank you guys so very much for watching this video on Navigatoria, chapter number 29, titled Observation. Because of course, they are observing the world no more. And yeah, I'll catch you guys next time. This will be Glowplasma 231, signing out.